What is up, people of YouTube? I'm your host Vernon. This is Floyd Lamb Park. Let's fish that. Alright, ladies and gents, we made our way out to Floyd Lamb Park. Now I'm far away from the water because the park is rather busy today. 3 days ago they stocked this pond with channel catfish and it is the first weekend, so the park is very busy and we're going to see if we can get on some fish. Now, seeing as a lot of the spots are already full, we have to take what we can, and that's the thing, that's the challenge we have to deal with, see if we can find fish from where we are. Alright, so over the last 4 years the fishing pressure here at Floyd Lamb Park has increased, and my main question for today is going to be, is it worth it fishing out here? So to answer that question, we have to get some baits and lures into the water. Now the first rod on this one, we have a simple Carolina rig with some night crawlers, and I'm throwing that close to the reeds there. General idea being that the stuck catfish, once they start moving around, they may be going to hide in these reeds, finding some darker spots during the day to hide. So if we're close to that, maybe we can get some catfish. Now they only have been stocked 4 days ago. That means they might not be in this part of the pond yet, but we're going to try. This is the only spot we could get, so we're going to throw that out there, going to see if we get anything on little night crawlers on this side. Now a few bushes over from that spot, I have my carp set up. Now this is just my normal pack bait with some corn, and I got that on this side. Now the general idea in summer, these carp come up shallow to feed, so you want to be in the shallow flats. But unfortunately I cannot do a major big cast out towards that way. We have other people around fishing, so I'm very limited into this small little spot. So we're going to throw the baits out there. We'll see if maybe some of the carp make their way into this little channel. Maybe we'll get on some carp, maybe not. So these are the two baits that we're going to be soaking out there. Some night crawlers trying for channel catfish, and some corn trying for carp. But because we are 2 licensed anglers, on our second rods we're going to be using something different to see if we can find any fish out there. Alright, ladies and gents, I had a specific plan for today, thinking about 3 or 4 different spots that I wanted to fish in, having a few backup spots in case I couldn't fish those, and lo and behold, the spots I wanted to fish and my backup spots are all taken, and we have to make do with what we have. Now the important thing is that a spot is only as good as you make it. Now there are 3 things I want to point out to explain what I mean. First and foremost, this spot may have some challenges, but it also does have some opportunities. And that's the big thing. Quite often in my videos I get comments of people saying that they come to these spots and they fish 2 or 3 times and they never catch any fish, and that is always a possibility. Now for instance, I use the FishBrain app. That is something I use as a tool. It's not somewhere where I post pictures of showing how great I am. No, rather I'm posting the specific fish I catch and the ways I catch them to show other people what I'm using and how I'm catching these fish. And that's the same way that I'm using this app. I'm looking at what people caught and what they caught them on, and then I try that. Now if you look at something like FishBrain, you'll see that quite a lot of people have been catching bass lately. Now for the last 2 months people have been targeting bass and catching bass. So if I go out there now and try and catch these bass, you can, but it's going to be difficult to catch them. So rather go for the fish that are in abundance or available, haven't been targeted that much. That is why the little channel catfish, they're a great thing. Once they get stocked, you can catch quite a few of them if you are in the right spot. But as time goes on, they spread out through the entire pond. You can catch them anywhere. But this little shallow spot we're in, there is some opportunity to catch some different fish out there, and that's what we're going to be doing. Rather than focusing on throwing big lures for strange fish, I'm going to rather show you the setup I'm going to use out there to try and get some fish at least. There we go. Lovely little bluegill. Nice size on this one. Lovely little colors and everything. also has a rather fat belly on him. Let's get him back to the water. And he swam off rather quickly. Alright guys, let's start off with the setup. I'm using one of my old reels, but I'm using it on a Shakespeare Durango. This is a brand new rod. Went to Walmart, saw this thing was on sale for $5, and being a sucker for a bargain, I couldn't let this little rod go, so I had to buy it, and today we're hopefully going to get our first fish on that. Now this particular area being shallow and having lots of trees and cover, it's actually a great place to find panfish, and that's what I'm going to try for. So I have a little panfish hook on here, a little piece of nightcrawler, and a little weight just to get into the spots. Now the main goal is going to be trying to find bluegill or green sunfish, and having just caught one on this rod, I think this is a good place to try and find them. But seeing as how all the spots are busy, there are little hidden spots all the way around where I can walk around, try and find fish. So that's going to be the plan for the day, trying to find some of these bluegill. I'm going to start off with the drop shot rig, but you can always use something like a little bobber as well. The only reason I'm starting off with a drop shot rig is so that I can cast it out to a specific spot. It might be harder to get your bobber close to those reeds, try and find the bluegill. I want to start near the reeds, then I'll move around, because a lot of the times the smaller fish will be around these covers. Alright, so I just had a couple of hits, but I think these fish are smaller than I think, so we're gonna just make a little piece of nightcrawler a lot smaller, just have it on the bottom part of the hook. Let's see if we get anything when we put on a smaller little piece of nightcrawler. Alright, so I've been moving around, casting around, and on this tiny little piece of nightcrawler I've not had any hits on this little piece. What I'm thinking is these fish aren't just grabbing everything they can, they're not feeding that well yet, so your baits have to look natural. This small little piece of nightcrawler does not look natural, so I'm going to put on a bigger piece of worm, something that looks more natural as it falls in the water. Let's see if we get bites again. And there we go, little bluegill landed. Like I said, just a longer, more natural presentation, and they're willing to go for it. Lovely little blue on his cheeks. Not the biggest of bluegill, but happy to get him. Let's get him back to the water. Now that's not my first bluegill for the year, but that's the first bluegill for this new rod. So we finally caught something on the new rod. I also managed to tangle my lines, so I'm quickly going to sort out this mess, and then we get to fishing again. Now I do get this is not the most glamorous type of fishing, but I'm catching a few fish, and eventually when a different spot opens up, we might move to another spot, see if we can get some catfish or maybe some carp. But for the time being, I'm going to catch a few bluegill. The entire idea is to get out and enjoy it. At the moment, it's fun catching these little guys. Lovely little guy, fat belly on him. Let's get him down by the slide. Down he goes. That last piece of worm didn't look right, so I swapped out to a new piece. First cast, got another fish. It's a bit of a better sized one. Lovely blue on this one. And back to the water he goes. Another lovely fat bluegill. Get him down on the slide. Down he goes. So often I will talk about using smaller hooks and smaller pieces to get on fish, but clearly the more presentable thing this time around is the way to get fish. A smaller piece might help with the smaller fish around. If you want a bit of bigger fish, go for a bigger piece. Not an entire worm, but just a bigger piece, just to get their attention. And remember, you want to try and keep the hook, the tip of the hook exposed, but you don't want them to be able to see it. Another decent little fat bluegill. Not the biggest guy, but fat belly on him. He has some weight to him. Let's get him back to the water. And there he goes. Now I made the best of my circumstances and we caught a couple of fish by now. But I think it's about time we try and worry about some lunch. And after that, we'll reassess the fishing situation. Alright, ladies and gents, we just had our lunch and we decided it's about time to make some changes. Now unfortunately the top pond, that is Tule Springs, the lake that they stock with the catfish and trout, that lake is packed. There's no available real estate to do some fishing, and we want to do some fishing in a fun way and be relaxed, so we rather made our way down to Mulberry Lake. For one simple reason, we do know that there are carp in these waters and we do have our carp baits. So we still got our carp rod out there hoping for some carp. We also do have our night crawlers out there. Now this pond does not get stocked, so the fish that are in here might be an odd catfish that washed down, or maybe some other types of fish might go for our night crawlers. But we're not expecting too much action out of this. It's more about the carp setup and having the freedom to cast around, not being in the way of other people. Alright, I was casting around some bass lures and I found this little spot. I can see some small largemouth bass, some carp and some bluegill. So I'm going to cast a night crawler around here. There we go, first one to hit, little bluegill. Dropped him back into the water. Alright, ladies and gents, it turned out to be panfish day out there today. Both me and the wife, we caught some panfish out there. Now at the beginning of this video, I asked whether I think Floyd Lamb Park is a good spot. Well, that was kind of a redundant question. Thing is, there is no such thing as a good spot or a bad spot. It's what you make of it. And going out there catching some bluegill was fun to do, and all in all, successful day. The idea was getting out, just relaxing and having fun, and we did all of that. And even though we only got bluegill out there, these were some bigger bluegill than the ones I caught earlier this year, so happy to get on some bigger bluegill once again. So this is also a great activity to do with some kids. Get small hooks, small pieces of worms, catch a few fish, and help the young guys experience fishing and release the fish safely. Right, but thank you guys for following along. Please remember to give me a thumbs up for the fish we did catch. Feel free to ask any questions down below in the comments. And if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, consider doing so, hitting the big red subscribe button, joining my community. Alright, but thanks for watching. Like always, see you next time.